Welcome to the Starzology Astrology Podcast. I am your host, Alison Price, and I'm here with my co-host and good friend, Arwynne O'Neill.
Hello, Alison. It's great to be here again.
So nice to have you once more. Now, in this episode, we're going to be talking about Jupiter in Gemini.
Yes.
So Jupiter is going to be entering Gemini and spending a bit of time there. We're going to talk about it and what this could mean for, well, basically everybody.
Yeah, 100%. Jupiter goes through every sign for about a year.
Yes.
It takes 12 years to go around the entire zodiac. And this is interesting because it kind of corresponds a bit with the Chinese astrology.
Yes. It does.
Zodiac.
It does.
Yeah.
So I can give you a little bit of information about that. So the idea being that because there are 12 symbols in the Chinese zodiac and the Jupiter is in one sign every 12 years, they tend to correlate. So
and they change around the spring.
Yeah.
Like they tend to,
Exactly.
Yeah.
So people who are born with Jupiter in Gemini would be those born, anyone born between 1900 and 1966 are either snakes or horses. If you happen to be born between 76 and 78 with Jupiter in Gemini, you are either a dragon, a snake, or a horse. And if you are born between 1988 to 2025, you are either a dragon or a snake. So anyone with Jupiter in Gemini who's still alive today, is either a dragon, a snake, or a horse.
Amazing.
So
I know a dragon.
You do?
I do. I live with one. Yeah.
Right. So
a metal dragon.
So here we go. So, does he have Jupiter in Gemini?
Actually, Jupiter in Taurus, but there's a little
it's
bit
close by.
It's close, for sure.
The point being that of the other animals in the Chinese horoscope, of which I'm something else, I don't know what you are, we do not have Jupiter in Gemini, and they are aligned. So in a way, Western astrologers frequently would try to align the meaning of Jupiter and Gemini with this Chinese symbology. Now, it does slowly creep, and then we're talking about over the last 125 years, it's slowly crept from snakes and horses to dragons and snakes, and it's now only dragons and snakes. So the horses have dropped off.
just like in life.
The horses have dropped off, and you're either, if you're a dragon or a snake, you are likely to have Jupiter and Gemini. Yeah. So there's quite a bit of an interesting correlation there.
For sure. Where's your? You said you're a rabbit?
No, unfortunately, I'm a boar. B-O-A-R.
I'm an ox. I mean, we're both super unglamorous Chinese signs. I'm a water ox of all things.
This is it. And I'm thinking, I'm not so keen on that. I'm either pig or a boar. Neither are quite
water buffaloes are pretty badass, though. I do like them. There's some great videos of them defending their.
Yeah. So it's a different symbolism.
It is for sure. But Jupiter and Gemini is what we're talking about. And Gemini, there's nothing oafish or pedestrian about Gemini. Gemini is a sprightly, mercurial, lively, wordsmithy, wonderful, lighthearted sign. And Jupiter is the planet of expansion and good things and big things. And I think mind expansion comes to the fore in this transit. Big thoughts. Yeah.
I think so.
I mean, there's nothing bad to say about it, really.
Well, only that.
I'm sure we'll find something.
Well, we're going to find it right now.
With the good.
And the problem is that because Jupiter rules Sagittarius, so it's in detriment in Gemini.
Oh, damn. Right.
So the thing is that whilst Jupiter and Sagittarius have this affinity with knowledge, Gemini has the affinity with information.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah, great point. Yeah.
So if you can blend the two, it would work well, but it's not the easiest thing to combine.
Because you get bogged down in the chitter-chatter and the flotsam and
gossip.
Everything and the the information overload is the buzzword,
So, whilst Jupiter passes through Gemini, it's going to, obviously stimulate people who've got the sun in Gemini, anyone who's got Gemini planets.
Yeah, Gemini rising
or points or anything in Gemini, Jupiter will pass by, and it will bring good things. It will bring great expectations and luck and opportunities and open doors and this and that, but you may just be overloaded on your plate. So that is one of the downsides. However, it's still a good planet.
Right. I mean, you want to definitely look where Gemini is in your chart. If you have Gemini rising, you want to look out for, and this is one of those things, like just over excess in any aspect of your life. they always say like Gemini transiting through your first house is you may gain weight. Saturn going through your first house, you may lose weight.
Yes.
And
yes.
Not to shame anyone, not to make anyone worried, but just it's a thing to watch out for.
It is, because when Jupiter comes by, there's abundance. There's an excess of stuff. Yeah. So you're stuffing your face on God knows what. Whereas when Saturn comes by, we're a bit short. We'll just have bread and water,
Yeah.
So
celery.
Yes. Or celery. Why not? Celery.
Good Lord, how sad.
I know. And some dehydrated onions and whatnot if it's Saturn, because it rules dehydration. But
just Gemini, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so when Jupiter enters Gemini in May 2024, it's going to bring a total shift, because it's coming out of Taurus, where things were a little slower, and it's going to move into Gemini, and we can anticipate that opportunities are going to come your way that are through contacts and information that comes to you.
Information, contacts, siblings, neighbors. Yeah, all that third house Gemini stuff.
Yes. So you better you're likely to meet people and remember their names and this sort of thing.
Yeah.
Depending what you're trying to do with the Jupiter energy.
Yeah, if you want to expand your social circle, this is a great time.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, back in the day, we'd say, well, write to your pen pals around the world. Yes. I mean, I don't think people still do that, right?
I mean, texting anyone that you just met is absolutely. So anyone you just met, who you exchange numbers with, maybe shoot through a text, be like, hey, we met at blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Why did you exchange numbers? What is the reason? Maybe that's a good contact for you. Reach out and just drop them a line.
That's right.
Unless you were, drinking and regret giving them your number, in which case delete it. Whatever.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, it happens. But
so we also anticipate massive headlines and extravagant and I don't know, the world's coming to an end or whatever kind of drama they want to put through.
The big fonts, the big.
Yes.
The big font headlines.
Yes. But really, on a personal note, although it's a general shift and it'll be there for 12 months, the question really is, where is Gemini in your chart, and where is Jupiter going to stimulate your ability to butter up your contacts, reach out, grow something good?
Be versatile, be social, be curious.
Yes.
Be friendly. Approach other people, be outgoing, ask people questions about themselves.
And they'll be asking you too, because Jupiter energy is for everybody, right?
Yeah, exactly. It increases your ability to be curious, intellectual, verbal. It increases your verbosity, and your contacts and your communications will be more valuable and more impactful at this time. So mind expansion is a really good buzzword for this, and you'll be more capable of being open-minded and expansive, which is always amazing. It's a great thing. You'll be able to see more sides to an argument.
Yes. And it's particularly with coming out of Taurus, where things were a little staid.
A little dogmatic, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little acquisitive and,
Okay, so, Arwynne, where's this going to be happening for you then?
Well, Gemini is in my 8th house.
Okay.
So
Jupiter's going to be moving through your 8th house.
Yeah.
Bringing excessive credit scores for you and loading you with debt. Oh, no, that's the worst thing I could say. Let me take it back.
Hey, it's also the house of sex. I mean, there could be a silver lining.
Well, there you go. You've got a lot to
look forward to.
A lot to
look tax season is over. Tax season is over. We're going to focus on the sex part.
Yes, why not?
And it's Gemini sex. What could be better? It's lighthearted, it's frivolous, it's playful, it's wordy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's going to, you'll be able to expand into the area or do more deep psychological digging around. I imagine that you're going to read more books than you already do.
Good Lord, how could that even be possible?
Yes. Well, I don't know, but I really would like you to report back. How many books did you read while Jupiter was in Gemini? Keep a tally, and we'll get back to it when Jupiter enters Cancer, because that would be interesting, because you really are a book of, is it a bibliophile? Is that the word? A book reader person?
Bibliophile, yes.
With a 1,000-book library.
I'm a book slut, yes.
There you go. And it's all information and knowledge. And
information junkie is absolutely the
information junkie. Yes.
Yeah.
And I would assume then also with podcasting and putting it out there and growing, and hopefully let's lean into that one.
It's growing, yeah. And how about you? Where will this transit be hitting?
It's in my 11th house.
Oh, nice.
Yes. So already I am gearing up. I've done a a total rebrand on my newsletter. It's now got a name. It's called the Starzologer.
I noticed that. It's very streamlined and sleek and beautiful.
Well, it took 10 days to get that one page to wrestle that to the mat. But I'm really trying to, because I've got it's my biggest house, the 11th house. It's 45 degrees. So there's a lot of time I will have to work on this. And my idea is to grow my community, and it will be through the newsletter and for people who are listening, you can certainly sign up and get on my newsletter and see what you think about it, because we talk about astrology only, and I go down some rabbit holes, but not always. And it's about, how astrology can improve your life, and really we don't need to get all technical about everything. You can just take a lighthearted approach as well, although of course one would go deep if you could. But the idea is that it never actually occurred to me until 2 weeks ago to do a refresh on this newsletter, until Jupiter actually moved into my 11th house, and I thought, hang on a minute. And I changed my newsletter provider from, I don't want to say from where, to this new one, ConvertKit, and it's like it's suddenly in full color. The doors have opened, and I'm thinking, oh, so that's how you do it. Nice. Oh, this is how you add a link. And I've really tried to improve what I'm providing on a weekly basis. It goes out on a Sunday. So my newsletter is now going to 1,200 people, aspiring astrologers who open it. And because of the new rebrand, I'm actually receiving far more comments back and letters from people saying, what about this, what about that, and asking questions and participating.
Wow. So in this case, you could say that it kind of went from a thing where you were very 10th house, kind of like, this is my newsletter. This is now your newsletter. This is now about you. It's about my community.
How can I help you?
Yeah. Well
and
done.
At the end, I've also got a little section saying, now it's over to you. What are you going to do about this? What are you going to do about that?
Yeah.
And people are slowly trickling in, trying to write back and say, well, I think I'll do this, and my Uranus is here, or whatever it is. Which is kind of interesting, because previously, when Jupiter was in my 10th house, I was saying, well, this was the business. It was like some boring old bank, in grey, and say, well, here we go, and blah, blah, blah. And I've thrown all that out the window. I'm saying, okay, Alison, stand up. Let's get the colour getting. Let's get the art in there. Do what you want to do, but get the message out. And that's how there's been a shift.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So I'm hoping during this year, during this 12-month period, particularly as Jupiter goes into Gemini, that I gain more traction here and grow this, because I feel that it's a good way for me to contact and communicate directly with aspiring astrologers who maybe don't always have time to listen to the podcast. But I talk about astrology all the time, so I've always got something to say. So,
100%. That's amazing. So Jupiter in the air signs, and specifically in Gemini. And I'm going to quote from our favorite Saint Stephen Arroyo in his book, Exploring Jupiter, The Astrological Key to Progress, Prosperity, and Potential. This is an excellent book that came out in...
quite a while ago, but I'll put a link below.
So anyway, he says, people with Jupiter in the air signs are born with a broad curiosity about people and ideas. And the process of discovering new ideas and exploring their intellectual and relationship dimensions is the key to their happiness and sense of well-being. So communication is key with these people. Yes. It is where they expand their life. It is where they can fulfill their goals and their aspirations and really like live their quote unquote best life. So Jupiter in the air signs, their inner faith is stimulated through exploring new ideas, communicating with new people, and social improvement. Opportunities come to them when they express their ideas enthusiastically and when they interact with others for the future goal. So specifically in Gemini, these people seek to grow and improve themselves through communications, through developing a wide range of skills. So this is not the specialization. This is like a little bit of everything.
Jack of all trades.
Jack of all trades, exactly. And like one of my favorite authors said, specialization is for insects. I love that quote. Specialization is for insects.
Okay.
People should be good at everything. People should be good at doing a little bit of everything. You should be able to, make friends, do your taxes, make a meal.
Yes.
Learn to roller skate.
Multitask.
Even though they say multitasking is not a thing, but you should be able to do a little bit of everything well.
Yes.
And faith. This is because Jupiter is about faith.
It is.
Faith comes through, as Stephen Arroyo here says, faith comes through immediate perceptions. So it's not just about just faith as a belief, But faith comes through your immediate perception and verbalization of your connections and your wide-ranging interests, which communicate like life meaning to you. So your actual your feeling of faith in the world and in the universe comes through your tangible experiences.
Wow.
So when you actually observe something like an eclipse or a full moon or the light hitting the mountain in a certain way or a butterfly coming just when you're thinking about a person or a ladybug landing on your hand,
right.
All of these little tiny things that give meaning and that you impart meaning to. As humans, we do this. We're meaning-seeking entities. Like this is what we do. We craft tools and we make meaning. And so this is Jupiter and Gemini. We make meaning from tiny little things that we actually tangibly experience. And this is an optimistic placement. It's a changeable and curious placement. And they need to, people who have this aspect in their chart need to develop their intelligence and their reasoning based on their personal experiences. So in order to fulfill their experiences in life, they need to actually be able to experience and then communicate their personal experience in order to influence others. And they have an innate understanding of the importance of good communication and the desire to benefit others by being a source of information. So they might not be a super profound thinker or like a very in-depth influencer, but they can communicate in ways that affect others because of their charm and their lightheartedness and their positivity. Exactly. All those wonderful Gemini things. And I think we can all think of Geminis in our lives who have just enriched our experience of something with their lighthearted observations, which are very, very fleeting, but in a wonderful way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking, too, that during this period, we are likely to get some major hashtags coming through.
Oh.
That we don't know what they're going to be yet, but during the 12 months while Jupiter is in Gemini, that is likely to be coming through as well.
Yeah. Yeah, new buzzwords, new slang.
Yes. And I know when you talk about symbology, it's like seeing a feather and you think, oh, an angel was near.
That's exactly. Oh, my partner's sister was very much about that when we were visiting her like a couple weeks ago. She kept saying, "Oh, this feather arrived," and
an angel was there. I have this thing that when I see a fountain, I think there's an angel there.
Aww,
so, and because you don't see fountains everywhere, let's face it. Unless I don't know if you live in Rome, but around here we don't see fountains. But now and again you do, and actually there's one at the bus stop I use quite frequently, and I don't really notice it until I'm looking at it. I think,
And people throw coins into fountains to make wishes.
Yes, and it's like it's a beautiful thing. And to my mind, it's always been there's an angel there, and the bigger the fountain, the bigger the angel.
It's interesting too. I mean, just thinking of that from an evolutionary standpoint, humans always clustered around water sources when we were primitive because fresh water was life. Water is life, and in cities, and I dare say that 50% of us, like statistically, live in cities, so it stands to reason that many of our listeners will be city dwellers, or at least in some place that may have a fountain. And we create these things because it reminds us of these sources of life and sustenance, and fresh water is
you don't see it.
Yeah, it's
in the city. You don't see it.
But in Vancouver, like when I walk around or I skate around, and I do see a lot of these condo developments, so they'll have a little water, they call it a water feature. Now, it's not a fountain, it's a water feature.
Yes.
And some of them are just terrible. In fact, there's a website, I can't remember the name of it, but I remember looking because I noticed a lot of like terrible fountains where they were like rusty and disused, and they had like dead leaves all clustered in them, and they hadn't been running for forever, and it was just like a failed water feature. And what could be sadder, like a failed water feature? Like you thought this was going to be like, it's the fountain of life, and then all of a sudden it's just run dry, and you never use it anymore because like there's a water shortage, and so.
But it's all symbolic of this higher faith, right?
Exactly.
And I think that's interesting.
Because water is in motion, but also it's moving water. It's not just a stagnant pool. It's not just, a body of water. It's water that we've technologically created to move and constantly be in motion.
And why do we put fountains up? Because we can.
Because we
can. They don't do anything.
No,
they're
but
aesthetic.
It's like, go to Las Vegas. The very first and, one of the only times I've been to Las Vegas was a few years after they built the Bellagio.
Oh, yes.
And my partner and I were visiting. We hadn't actually booked a hotel somehow. We had missed doing that. We get to the Strip, and we're trying to book a hotel. And the Bellagio had just opened, so they were running all these deals. And so we checked into the Bellagio, and we're like in the hotel room, and we did not know there was a fountain until we were like, and it runs every 15 minutes, famously. And so we're sitting there, we're unpacking, and all of a sudden, he's like, come to the window. And I'm like, what? There's this massive fountain. And it goes off every 15 minutes with this amazing, like, symphony.
Music and everything.
Yeah. And why do we do that as humans? Because water is life. Yeah. And moving water is a reminder of all of the cycles of life and sustenance and vitality. Yeah. Yes. In the same way that fire is. So it's almost like the opposite, but yet the complementary element to water.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Back in Johannesburg a million years ago, they had, I think that was called the water park or something, and you would go there, the musical fountains it was called, and you would go there like on a Sunday night at 7:00 and sit in your cars and whatnot, and they would play Mozart or something, and they had these fountains that this amazing stuff.
Oh, that's amazing.
And you're thinking, wow. Yeah. And it was kind of a thing you went and did.
Right. Watch water.
Yes.
It's awesome.
So,
I mean, I don't know why we're talking about water because it's Gemini.
I know, it's an air sign.
But I mean, there's something about that, though.
It's to do with the faith, I think.
And it's movement.
Yes.
Because Gemini is very much about movement. And even though we're talking about water, it's like moving water. It's not.
I think it's the symbology as well that's coming through because Gemini rules codes, right? Coding and what have you, and Morse codes and
language.
Yeah. So when Jupiter's coming in, this is why I was thinking about the hashtags, that there's going to be, whatever it's going to be that's going to crop up. And if you're in a certain generation, you'll know what these codes mean, because in my generation, I wouldn't necessarily do that. But within that, you're going to have minor codes about what's going down in the news, what's happening, and it's general knowledge, but it's coded. And if you're not in, you're not in.
Yeah. For sure.
Interesting. So, Arwynne, let's just have a look at a couple of things that we could anticipate as Jupiter goes through Gemini.
Absolutely. So you want to look at where Gemini is in your chart. So if you have Gemini rising, as we said, be careful of overeating and overindulging and over expending, etc., because Gemini enhances all of the things that the first house has to do with. But then again, also not to, just focus on the bad part of overextension. If you have Gemini rising, Jupiter going through your first house is amazing. It's your chance to actually put yourself out there.
Be yourself.
And expand your horizons as yourself and to be more authentic as yourself.
Yes.
So you want to look at where Gemini is in your chart. Mm-hmm. And that's the house that for the next year will be stimulated by this transit.
This growth and this opportunity.
Absolutely.
And it's the good news planet. Let's face
so
it.
if it's your 7th house, like, oh my gosh, your like partnership, blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
If it's in your 10th house, wow, career, your face to the
your
world.
Reputation.
All of that stuff. If it's your 11th house, as we said, your social circle, your community, your connections, your influence.
You're going to grow something.
You're going to grow something.
So focus, know where your Jupiter is so you can get the growth going.
Yes, absolutely. 12th house, what do we have to say about that?
Well, again, I think that has to be the retreat person, the person who says, I'm going to spend a year working on whatever it is, but you have to go and do it, not in a monastery, but
behind closed doors.
Privately, and maybe you're writing a book, maybe you're making an online course. I don't know.
Right.
These things take forever.
It's communications, but it's in the process. It's the internal process that then has to come forward.
Yes, it doesn't have to be in the public domain, but it will still be a way for you to grow if you lean into the Jupiter energy. And that's the thing, because you could so easily just say, and carry on watching Netflix.
For sure. I mean, my God, exactly. We could always do that.
Yeah.
But it's good to know these things so you can harness it for your
to
own
lean into it. And particularly if you've got Sagittarius rising or your sun's in Sagittarius, pay attention to where Jupiter is, because it really does make a difference.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Opportunities are fleeting. We always used to say that.
Yeah.
And someone will give you an opportunity, and you can't go back. And they say, no, that's gone.
Yeah.
So.
And as astrologers, we're like, oh, what did you do when Jupiter crossed your first house? You don't want to be like, well, I watched this great thing on Netflix. I watched all 4 seasons
of XYZ. No,
you want to
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to have done...
I launched my podcast. I revamped my website.
Yes, I got a haircut. I lost 50 pounds or whatever it is.
Yeah, whatever it is.
Yeah. But do something, grow in the nature of the Jupiter, in the nature of the house that it's going through. Because, I mean, there's a lot going on astrologically, but Jupiter's always a good planet, generally.
Yeah.
So
it's not the one like Uranus or Pluto where it's going to knock you over the head. You're going to be like, oh my God, what happened? Like, what's going on?
Yes.
But once you know,
opportunity knocks.
You can use it. Yeah. Yeah. And you're like, who is it? It's Jupiter and Gemini.
Yeah.
Ah. You know, and no one's sad to see that. No one's like, oh God, it's Jupiter and Gemini. No, it's amazing. Just use it.
It's great.
Yeah.
Okay, Arwynne, so this has been great. We've been looking at Jupiter going through Gemini. It's going to be there for 12 months. We've spoken a little bit about as it goes through some houses, what to anticipate if you happen to be a Gemini, and why not lean into it. This is really what we're saying.
Absolutely.
So if you have found, to our listeners, if you have found value within this episode, please do share it with someone who'd be interested. And you can email us at starzology@gmail.com. And if you do, say that you heard us on the podcast and that's why you're emailing. That would be helpful. And you can also check out our website at starzology.com. And, of course, if you want to sign up for the Starzology newsletter, that would be then starzology.com/newsletter. And you can definitely sign up there to see what else is going on and what we're chatting about.
Yay! And if you want to follow Arwynne, you can find her at mspink.net.
Exactly. And why wouldn't you? Of course you do. Get on there.
She plugs once a week.
There you go.
Yay.
So, Arwynne, thank you so much for joining me. It's been lovely having you.
It's been great to be here. Thanks, Alison.
Thanks so much for getting this far through the episode. I just want to take a moment to tell you about the two main options of my astrology services. So the first one is coaching. If you are an aspiring astrologer, and by that I mean someone who's perhaps a hobbyist astrologer or someone who's learning astrology or a student, or you've got a few books and you've been doing it for a while, but perhaps you need a little bit of help to bring it all together, then maybe getting some astrological coaching from me would be the answer for you. The astrology coaching I offer is a 1-hour session on Zoom, and it's tailored to answer your particular questions. For example, if you have issues with natal chart readings, we can go there. Or if you're having problems working with your forecasting, we can go there. Or even basic astrology stuff, or even getting yourself organized for your astrology business. The idea is that astrological coaching will answer your particular questions. It's tailored specifically to you and where you are in your astrological journey. And I'm happy to help you out with some guidance about how you can get going, what to focus on, and what to dismiss. So that would be the astrological coaching for people trying to learn astrology. The second astrological service I offer is consultations. So this is for someone who perhaps doesn't know anything about astrology, but they just want to have their chart read or get their chart done. Call it what you will. So once more, this is a 1-hour consultation over Zoom. I will interpret your chart, tell you about the main features, tell you about where the energy is flowing, and all the rest of what is entailed in a thorough natal chart interpretation. I can also add in some forecasting in there too, bearing in mind we only have 1 hour. So just in summary, I've got coaching for people who want to learn astrology, and I've got consultations for those who want to get an astrology reading done. I'm Alison Price from Starzology.com. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time.